Tell me a little bit about, like, let's say I have never been to the Pine Barrens before. I don't know much about it.
Woo! It's unlike any place in the world, actually.
But it was like a long, like, it was like a human whistle. You wanna try all this? Yeah, try it.
Well, our last stop on this journey, spent a couple days in New Jersey. I know a lot of you Squatch people are gonna be like, Jersey? What the heck is he doing in New Jersey investigating? Well, the Pine Barrens of New Jersey is really something special. We drove in late last night. We didn't get here till 11 o'clock, between 11 and 12, so we really haven't got to look around, but once you get a look around this place, you can see why. There've been encounters, track findings, a lot of stuff in this area. We are with a few BFRO members, and Erik Spinner. He is the BFRO of New Jersey, and a really nice guy. Really nice guy. He's got a podcast called Sasquatch Talks. So go give a sub and give a listen. He's got some good interviews on there and a lot of stuff about the Pine Barrens, but should be an interesting couple days. See what happens. Up.
It's like a hawker. You got your bird call? Buzzard.
Buzzard. I got a ton of buzzards in my area. Yeah, it's probably gonna come down swoop and try to eat you.
That'd be cool. Little bird call.
Luke is doing his bird call.
It's gone. Who cooked the food? Talking about that.
So yeah, that's one.
Charles Kimbrough, those are his mics. You know Charles makes
Kimbrough
mics.
Audio. I always plug.
Awesome,
I always plug Kimbrough Audio when I'm doing a show. You know what I mean?
He's got some great equipment. He was showing us with his mobile command unit.
And he also made my long duration recorder, and I take the H2N and I put that inside the LDR and hang that up on a tree, and that really records nice. We actually hung that at a home, in the back of a home where they had a habituation going on, and we were there one night, my wife and I, and you can actually hear something come up and sniff it. It was 6 feet up in the tree too. Wow. And then it taps it. And this is by a gifting site, right? The only problem is because the Kimbrough mics that are in that LDR are so sensitive, it picked up the road noise from a highway that was about a quarter mile away. So while the squatches were taking turns eating the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of the aluminum foil pan that was left out for them. You know, you'd actually hear the lid get off because there was another pan on top. You'd hear the squatch come, walk up, and you'd hear them eating the peanut butter and jelly. And then they put the lid back on, and then the next one would come up and move the lid and eat a sandwich. Yeah, it was amazing. So, unfortunately, I didn't see anything that night with the therm or anything, but we did get that on audio. We didn't wind up staying overnight, and so I went back to grab my LDR. And there was a tin bucket with cookies in it also, vanilla cream cookies. And when we got back to go retrieve my camera, the bucket was knocked over, and the woman says, "Oh, that hasn't happened before." And so that was odd. When I was listening to the audio, you can actually hear us approaching, and you can hear whatever it was like run off, and you hear it knock the bucket over. So
That's cool.
that was pretty cool, you know. But these are very sensitive microphones, so I mean, with this unit right here, I recorded howls that were so mournful up in New York State. I did some samurai chatter, and we got these howls responding to us from across the lake, and they were not canine, and it was awesome. I handed it to an attendee. I said, "Here, listen," you know, and it's just amazing what you can pick up. So yeah, it's
Cool.
one of
It's a great little system.
It's the number one thing I'll tell somebody to bring with them if they're going out doing research.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's something you can go home and
have
listen
audio.
to, and you'll have it.
Yeah, is that okay? Everyone's good. No bad people. No bad apples.
Here, Mike, look at this.
Do you get more than 4 hours sleeping in this car? Like,
Oh yeah, dude. I sleep
Really?
like a baby in here.
You guys.
I
are
sleep
just-
better.
yeah,
I sleep better in
I
here.
feel like, I tell her, I feel like a crumpled up piece of paper.
I've done it, and I'll fall asleep when I'm like just at like wit's end, but then I'll wake up at like
Cat
4 in the
nap.
morning, furious, and
Dude, I sleep better in here than I do in the tent.
really.
I got.
Okay, we're
Oh, I didn't know there was like a lot of.
me, Luca, Mike Wanders, and
I was
Alex.
gonna say, like, there's not much elevation here otherwise.
Mike just got here this morning. We're going for our first little hike. See what's in this darker spot right here. It doesn't look like it's that big, but just gotta get the lay of the land before we go out tonight. Definitely gives the creepy vibes. At night, it's very creepy.
Oh, I could marshy.
Very muddy.
Good thing my muck boots. Not
Ah, yeah, but Chewy doesn't have any muck boots.
You're gonna get muddy down.
Oh,
Cool area. That looks creepy. That's weird. Yeah, let's go over there by that patch trees.
yeah.
See if we can find. I got 18 minutes left on this card.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I got plenty of dirt. Oh, I didn't know there was like a lot of. I was gonna say, like, there's not much elevation here otherwise. Watch out, those stats are on 20. I know there's low elevation.
Pulled up. That's why Chewy rolled in it. He wanted some Jersey Devil DNA on him. No, definitely it's been scavenged. What we see a lot flying around are turkey vultures.
I don't see that many.
No, yeah.
Yellowstone, sure, but like not really anywhere else.
Yeah, we found a bunch in West Virginia.
Really?
Backside of our camp, there was a deer that was killed.
Oh, that's right.
Probably a squatch. That's the first thing you should assume when you're in the woods. Is that
Exactly.
it's most likely a
Exactly.
Bigfoot.
Exactly. Sketchy when you find something like this. I mean, fresher in like Yellowstone
Yeah.
or something.
Oh yeah,
Being-
it was a
being
grizzly or
like,
something. That's why I'm like, I don't know how you go out in the woods without a gun. I could not do that, dude.
Grizzly country.
Could not do that with just bear spray. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah. Now Mike decided to come down here. He's got a great channel. He does a lot of cool Bigfoot exploration and just awesome backpacking. Go check out Mike Wanders. We're glad to have him out here.
I'm here to steal all of Alex's ideas, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah, we're letting it happen one time. You get a one-time,
you
one-time usage, and that's it. Yeah. So there you go.
I mean, if you're just scrolling by,
If you're just driving by, you look like a rock.
Yeah, look at that rock.
You look like a rock with moss on it, and
If you lay down,
Try
I mean,
front facing. Ready? I might drive
Yeah, I
by
mean-
that.
it does. You look like a rock if you don't move.
I'd probably drive right by that. Yeah.
At night, I wouldn't even know.
Pretty cool, huh? You're surrounded by multiple large urban areas. You get New York City here. Look at this moss.
Wow.
Should have just follow the river that way. It might be easy so we don't get lost. We got a kid up there.
Good boy.
Oh man.
That's pretty cool. We're following. Seems to be a game trail.
I think this first camping is illegal here. Anything fun is illegal.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of laws and rules around here.
They're banned, like,
Chewy,
airsoft
come here, bub.
in New Jersey, yeah.
Come here, Chew. Chewy.
Chewy.
Hey,
They need to,
Chewy, get over here.
They need to allow hunting with black bears.
I think they're
Like protected in New Jersey.
No, they allow hunts, but people
complain
Come here, Chewy.
about the hunting.
Come on. Come.
Oh, look at this shot. This is cool.
Atta boy. Get through this stuff. Atta boy.
Ready? Yep.
That's like Hakamak has that.
This is like
weird
a ball
shit.
like thing.
it's
my-
moving.
My
way
boots
out
aren't
there.
sinking in, but you can see I'm standing on like a. It's almost like a. It's
Wow.
all shaking. Look at that.
Oh my.
Whole thing's moving.
Wow.
I did not expect
Drop down.
that. Just get
Into the
sucked in.
abyss.
Hope not.
It's like a Freddy Krueger dream type stuff.
I've seen that happen in Yellowstone. People go down up to like their chest.
Oh my gosh. Just the suction to
man,
try to
you're
pull them
alone.
out.
Yeah.
Nah.
Abandoned. Cloud food in the road is clean. Good place to hunt. though,
Yeah.
I bet. Good place to hunt. I would imagine, right?
Yeah. All these game trails.
Tons of
It's like a maze.
That's what Eric was saying. They don't get a lot of deer, or they don't get a lot of bears here. There's a lot of deer, coyotes, bobcats. He says there's a few bears, but they're like pretty far and few between.
Okay.
It's a bummer.
What is your camping spot?
Oh, this is a beautiful camping spot.
Somebody camp.
Just out in the
Oh yeah.
nice sandy bottom to lay on. Camp for a tent.
This is such a strange. Look at this, like strange sand area. Look at all this sand, man.
I know, from going to mud, swamp to
It
sand.
really reminds me of like Ocala National Forest in Florida. It's got this sugar sand like this down there.
Oh wow, look at this area.
Florida,
Oh wow. Yeah, it's got that Cape Cod vibe too. You're right. It definitely looks like It's definitely feeling like the Pine Barrens right here.
Like it sort of feels like a place where there's a big fish.
Yeah, I know.
I just don't know. If
I don't know how.
logistically it
That's
makes
what I'm
sense.
saying, man. Oh, you have too much equipment. You're never gonna see him that way. You gotta go in and not another hunting stand. I could see with all these game trails.
Don't use these.
Just wide open area. It's a perfect spot. Get a clear shot.
It's all separated?
Yeah.
Somebody told me they were like, one of these is going to get corrupted. Put all your libraries in one.
I've had. I don't trust this.
All right, we found we're on someone's game cam walking through this way. And then this stand is right up there, about 20 feet up. Alex is gonna go up it, bring his GoPro, get some shots.
You need like a harness to get up there and stay strapped in, but I'm gonna do it real quick. This makes me wish I had my fucking harness thing.
Here's Alex.
Full sketch. Only sketch because I'm like 20 feet up.
Where's Alex? Where is he? Where's Alex? Where's Alex? What's that? There he is. Chewy?
Let's see how to get down.
There he is. Just making our way back to camp.
We happen to notice, we look up and there's this white orb floating through the trees. And my first question to Erik with us, I said, hey, it kind of dissolving. It was going and slowly losing its brilliance and eventually just disappeared. And you know, the hearsay out in the Bigfoot world is that these things potentially coincide with a Bigfoot sighting, or Bigfoot, you know, emanates from an orb. I necessarily don't believe that. I feel Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature. Can't explain why that orb was in the middle of the woods out at night where other people had seen this and watched it disappear into nothing. My side of the Bigfoot research, I feel it's a flesh and blood creature. I do believe they do exist in New Jersey. I do believe that they do pass through.
But it was like a long, like, it was like a human whistle. Go up a little bit back here, but it was like a really long, like drawn out, like two second, like whistle.
I may go back. I may go back to that base camp area.
Yeah.
I'll go over there and see if there's
The whistle. Particular sitting there. What did it sound like? Just like a very I'm gonna grab my thermal. Mike Wanders. Where's Wanders?
Over to base camp, see if he get a better vantage.
Chilling at camp. Little fire action. It's quite a stack.
Drying it out.
Yeah, drying that out.
Okay, so we heard a crack. We three of us heard wood hitting wood. Thought it was Mike Wanders that walked over there. Mike came back to camp and I asked him, did you break any sticks or step on anything? He's like, no. So we've gotten a whistle and a wood on wood.
We heard a knock. Like a crack. So you heard it too. But we heard it was like a long drawn out like.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is that.
All right. It's 11 o'clock at night. Everyone's kind of gearing up and getting ready to go out for a little bit. We got camp lit up. See if anything is curious. So we have a weird whistle before and a couple of cracked branches. Other than that, not much. So it's been relatively quiet the past hour and a half. Very, very quiet. I have not heard a thing out here. Chewy's on a little alert. Chewy's on high alert.
False alarm.
Hey, bub. Anything, pup? Sorry, dude. Yeah, it's been extremely quiet the past hour. We've heard nothing on this whole hike. Okay, we decided to head back to camp. It's extremely quiet. We've been whooping, calling, a couple of knocks with just no response at all. So very quiet. I mean, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. And if it was that easy, we'd have a lot more evidence than we do. But who knows? Skeptical about the area, but you just keep an open mind. You listen to what's happened to people in the area. Could they just be passing through? Is it a migration thing? I always think about that stuff, especially living next to the Bridgewater Triangle. We'll head back to camp. Maybe we'll entice something to follow us, but we have not. We've heard just a little branch break, and it could have been anything, just stepping on a branch. Could have been a deer, anything. So, other than that, a quiet night hike is all it was. But if you're not out there, you're not trying. And you're not going to see anything if you're not out there looking.
So tell me a little bit about, like, let's say I have never been to the Pine Barrens before. I don't know much about it. What could you say about the terrain and what to expect here in the Pine Barrens?
The terrain here is fairly flat, very minimal inclines and variations. You do get some, but from everyone else I speak with who's been in other parts of the country, they like the Pine Barrens because there's not a lot of up and down hiking, so a lot of pine forest, a lot of bogs, a lot of cedar swamps. Just it's just one of those areas that has a lot of variations, and it's unlike any place in the world, actually.
Yeah, I keep hearing from Jake and Mike and people I've interviewed talking about how unique this is compared. Can you say, like, what is so unique about this area for you personally, as someone who's spent so much time here?
For me personally, it's the area I go to for my serenity, and so when I come through here, I'm always just observant of what's around me, and I see the changes, especially when we have like either controlled burns or wildfires. There's a lot of things that change when you're in here a lot, and it does look the same in a lot of places too. That's the other opposite. Like, you can get easily turned around. I remember once I had a ranger come up on me. I was out in an area and it was raining, and she said, what are you fishing? I said, no, just hiking. She goes, you got GPS? I said, no. She goes, well, people get lost out here. I said, oh, all right. And that was it, and that day I almost got lost. I got turned around a little bit, but I wound up coming back out at my car, and just before it started to get dark, so that was cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I've been a lot of different places, and it's definitely has an allure of its own. It's a little creepy if you're by yourself. You hear strange noises, especially at night. I don't like coming out at night by myself. But I don't know. It's like nowhere else. Like, I go to Pennsylvania, I go to New York. It's really like nothing else. And we have plants, we have wildlife here that is unique to this area. Some of the carnivorous plants. But yeah, it's a great place to come and check out.
Yeah, no, that's I was going to actually ask you about the vibe, so you sort of answered that question. But what's the size of the area we're talking about? Like, if you added up all of the Pine Barrens, what's the kind of geographical size of this area?
You know, I always say 1.2 million acres. I know a couple of other guys have, but I can't even give you the 10,000 acre or, you know what I mean, kind of thing. It's just, it's vast. Like, you know, you go up on Apple Pie Hill Tower and you can just see the horizon, just trees, you know. On the other side, you can see maybe on a clear day the little bit of Philadelphia, the skyline, you know. It's just like amazing when you're up there and you get to see the vastness of this, and it's just like maybe a trail or a forest road that separates you from that, you know, skyline.
Yeah, it is, again, it's like you're saying, unique, and it definitely feels very different than a lot of places I've been. I've been all up and down the East Coast and all over, and very different. So tell me about, what do you know about the history of Bigfoot in the Pine Barrens?
Well, I mean, there is a history, but it you know, for me personally, like, reports go back to maybe the early 70s. I know that there were native people here that experienced them in the past. I've spoken with some of them as well, but there's not too much that I've committed to my, you know, keeping track of them, that type of thing. I just feel like in the day they were called wild man, not necessarily Bigfoot, you know. So we do have that Native American history here in the Pine Barrens. The Lenni Lenape tribe was in this area, and again, there's you know, what's the term? Not written history, but oral history of that type of, you know, wild man encounter happening. But for me, the earliest reports actually happened around the early 1970s that we see reported, and they continue all through the 80s, 90s, up until now, with a lot of people seeing something strange, and again, often wrapping their mind around the Jersey Devil, not realizing that there's a potential, you know, undiscovered primate running around here, you know.
Yeah. Before we get into your personal kind of investigations, do you have a report or a Bigfoot report you've taken or investigated here in the Pine Barrens that kind of sticks out to you? It might be like a personal favorite or one that really speaks to you.
Well, aside from my own, which would be high up there on the favorites list, yeah, there's been some really cool intimidation reports that I've followed up on, investigated. You know, ones where a hiker or a poacher or somebody going out into the woods, you know, kind of gets intimidated to leave, and they're kind of escorted out, you know. One from the 1980s, not far from here, there was a young man who was solo camping, and he had cooked his supper, and he heard something circling his camp, and then when he got into his tent to go to bed, this thing screamed at him like a freight train. He could feel the volume in his chest, you know, and he wound up screaming back at it, "Get out of here, leave me alone." And next morning, as soon as the sun started coming up, he was out of there, you know. So that's an abridged version, but that's one of the ones I like.
So do you want to talk about your sighting then?
Well, we were just out. I was actually out with my friend who's a Jersey Devil enthusiast, and so she and I were out. It was on St. Patty's Day, 2010, and we went out to Bear Swamp Hill Tower Road. It's like Apple Pie Hill. It used to have another fire tower. Got taken out by an F-16 though, so nothing on top. We were out there and, you know, doing what we usually do with the whoops and the knocks and things, and it was kind of like the weather we've been having with misty, drizzling, and cold. It was in, you know, March. No activity, so I said, let's wrap it up. We're heading home, just talking about music, not even talking Bigfoot. We get into civilization, doing about 50 miles an hour in my Oldsmobile at the time. And this thing tore out from a development through a path that has chain link fence on both sides, doing probably about 30 miles an hour. Tore out in front of me. I got on my brakes. She slid forward, had a bottle of water between her legs. It sprayed up all over her. I avoided hitting him, and it kind of like went like, oh, like it knew it messed up, you know, mid-stride. About 3 feet in front of my car, but hunched over, running on two legs. It was like 3.5 feet over the hood of my car. And she says, "What the F was that?" I went, "Deer?" She goes, "No, it wasn't." So, I mean, it happens like that, you know, it's so quick. I wound up turning around and going back to see if I could find any track impressions on the side of the road, but it was all hard packed. Couldn't hear anything running through the brush. But where it came out and the trajectory it was running on, it would have gone through one of my customers' yards, and her house borders the power lines, which I always say is like a highway for animals to use, especially at night, you know. And that particular set of power lines goes back into Wharton, which is where we're at now, and continues for miles and miles. And there's been a few other reports that have come in near the same power line.
Interesting. Now, you know, we've been talking about Bigfoot and all this kind of stuff. What originally got you interested in becoming an investigator, and you know, what was the drive to come out here and look for things?
Truthfully, you know, I went to see the movie Sasquatch, The Legend of Bigfoot when I was a kid on Long Island with my dad, and that terrified me. Didn't give it much thought though. After I moved down here as a teenager to the Pine Barrens, we'd go out, have bonfires and keg parties and stuff. But I was going through a little rough patch in my marriage at the time, and to, you know, be out of my head, I started to get online and look at the BFRO's website and check out reports, and I was surprised to learn that there were reports in New Jersey. And instead of being up in my head on holidays when I was separated from my kids, I would get out into the forest and do some day hikes and get some serenity, you know. And I started just kind of doing on my own some armchair research, and in 2008, a couple of years into that, I attended my first expedition with the BFRO in Northwest Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania Northwest, we call that. That was the start of it, and that's where I really got the Bigfoot bug. That was the expedition. I met a lot of great people, learned a lot, and on the final night, actually we stayed an extra night, but on that morning, had one come up to my tent and scare the crap out of me.
Is there anything else you want to mention Bigfoot-wise about Pine Barrens before we move on to another topic?
As far as Pine Barrens go,
Oh, Bigfoot specifically.
I'm saying as far as the Bigfoot in the Pine Barrens, they're here. I know a couple of people you've interviewed have had opinions on that. My opinion differs. I don't think that there's only a few moving around, you know. I think they go around the area because obviously an individual that size needs a lot of resources, right, to maintain their caloric intake and all that. So they probably move from area to area periodically. But I would have to say there's probably at least a few family groups in the area. And I do feel like they have the ability to move around the state fairly easily due to our green belts and the, you know, the pathways along like the Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway. And there's been, of course, reports there. So yeah, they're here. And they're a little smaller here. I will say that. They're not as big as I've heard and seen in other areas, like in the mountainous regions. They don't need to be, you know what I mean? As far as coloration goes, I think they're very, very commonly auburn colored, which matches a lot of these pine needles as they start to, you know, die off. They can blend easily. I had recently a couple of reports right in my town, though, where a couple of people indicated seeing something they couldn't explain at, you know, various times of the night. And so they do move around. I believe they're opportunists. So hey, you've got all this beautiful land to hang out, cedar swamps and everything where it's more temperate. Why not? I mean, why wouldn't they be here? You know, we've talked to people we know, mutual friends that have said that they've had some pretty good activity on the East Coast and the Pine Barrens, which you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, definitely not something I expected. And I was going to ask you about the corridor thing too, but you kind of explained that. But
I'm reading your mind, Alex.
Is there anything else you want to do? Say in closing about the Pine Barrens or Bigfoot or in general?
Well, it's something I never anticipated myself personally getting into. I mean, I had an interest, but I never dreamed of becoming a actual researcher or an investigator, an organizer with the BFRO, or having done the extent of the travels I have in pursuit of that, you know, discovery. And I'm not trying to prove it to anybody. I'm not trying to, you know, gain fame and wealth as a result. I enjoy being out in nature, and the Pine Barrens just happens to be in my backyard, and it's a great place to get out and enjoy nature. And I've learned a lot about nature and camping and everything else. I was from New York originally, so we didn't do any of this, you know. I met a ton of great people that have become like family to me, you know, like Where else can you go out into the forest and have fun with like-minded individuals that's not revolving around drugs and alcohol? But it's like the thrill seeking is still there, you know what I mean? You're still chasing it because I can have an 8.5 foot tall individual tear my arms and legs off. That's better than any drug I can imagine, you know? And we have a great time. And to take a passion like that and turn into something we actually do make a few bucks that you can use towards gear or whatever else, nothing wrong with that, you know? So by day I'm a nutritionist and a health food store owner, and by night I'm a Bigfoot researcher.
That's awesome.
Just leaving the Pine Barrens. Different. I didn't know what to expect coming here. We didn't explore even just a little piece of it. So there is a lot of land out here. From what I've heard with the stories around here, there could be something coming through. Keep an open mind. There's always a possibility. Something's going on. We had a couple weird knocks last night, but quiet as heck when we were walking around. So I don't know. Come back again sometime. You can see how noisy it will get in the summer. There's a lot of ATV trails. I can see it being very loud and these campsites being filled. It's a good time to come is when there's not a lot of campers. I think there's only a couple other campers in this campsite. But other than that, that's the Pine Barrens. Just wanted to show you what it was like. You're never gonna get any. Sometimes you get stuff, sometimes you don't. You never know. Just gotta keep going out. Gotta keep looking.
I had to remember my Bobo necklace, so.
Nice.
No, that looks good.
Yeah, I remember. Who makes those necklaces?
I don't know. Women on that.
You look like someone from the BFRO.
Okay.
I'm using that as a blooper. We got that.
It's all right.
Chewy. What the hell, dude?
Dude.
He's living the good life, right? Yeah. He's happy.
Well,
Wet dog, dead deer smell.
oh God. Get away from it. Don't even think about it. You already got your fix.
Scent all over.
Holy yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
Well, truly rolled in a deer carcass. Well, I wouldn't even call it a carcass.
What's left?
Skin and bone. It was worse. There's not too much flesh.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'll dude wipe them though. Chewy, you're getting the dude wipe.
Glasses off?
Oh, if you want to wear your glasses, you go ahead.
I don't normally, so. I mean, I only wear them to drive, so.
All right. You can put them on the table if you want here.
They're not prescription, thanks.
Leave them in the dirt so Chewy doesn't step on them.
Steps on them. Come on.
Hey, flamethrower.
It works.
That's not how you start a fire. This is how you start a fire.
There you go.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. This is the creepy river. I don't know what creek or river this is, but it looks like it's
You stuck.
Chewy is now turning
Chewy, what are you doing, bro? I'm taking him off leash. I don't think he's gonna go back to the carcass. Oh my God, Chewy! Chewy!
Oh my God. Stop, dude.
Chewy! Okay, do the look like a Sith Lord. You gotta have some fun.
Good. $4,000 thermal. Grab it. Yeah, it's bigger, but it's definitely not better. I mean, wait, this is the $400 one? Yeah. I mean, with this one, I can at least see the forest. What?
Really?
What do you mean? What are you talking about, dude? This one, like, decent visuals, I feel like. Whoa. What's up? No, I mean, I can actually see into the forest. You can't see with the $4,000 one?
No. Let me try that again.
Yeah, here. All right, cool.
Got a good way to wrap it up?
Yeah, that was perfect. I like that. I like that a lot.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
It was fun.